wrapping up our first week of 30 Days of Pride Education. This seems like a great time to answer some really incredible questions I've received over the course of the week from people who are genuinely trying to learn and understand. I'm AJ Whitney, high school counselor, young adult author, and certified diversity, equity, and inclusion specialist. Though I do have a certain amount of expertise in the topics we're going to be covering, I am not immune to mistakes. So if I make a mistake, please let me know. I'd like to correct it. So here's our first question. Someone says, didn't it used to be LGBTQIA? What did I and A stand for, and what happened to them? Well, the I stands for intersex, which in very basic terms refers to a person whose chromosomes are not what we think of as the standard XX or XY. This is not even as rare as you think it is. It happens all the time. The A stands for asexual, which is a recognized sexual orientation on a spectrum. It'll be a whole other video in itself later, but it's a spectrum of people who experience attraction differently, maybe not at all, or maybe under very specific circumstances, but we'll get into more of that later. The reason we're no longer including that I and A on there most of the time is because the Q no longer stands for questioning, it now stands for queer, which covers basically the whole umbrella and means that we don't have to continue adding letters as we come up with new vocabulary to describe things. Question number 2, can a person be trans without wanting to change their physical body? And how does being trans affect sexuality and sexual identity? Yes, a person can be transgender and still want to keep their physical body the same way that it is. You can identify as the opposite gender, but be completely comfortable with the physical body you're in. You can also be transgender and want to change your body in order to match the gender you now identify as. Both are completely normal and valid. How does that affect sexual identity? Well, the truth is it doesn't really. Your sexual identity doesn't change. However, if you go from identifying as one gender to identifying as another gender, you may relabel your sexual identities. For example, if you are someone who was born biologically female and is attracted to males, but you realize later that you are transgender and you now identify as male, now you are a man who is attracted to other men. So while previously you may have considered yourself heterosexual, you may then identify yourself as gay. Last question, and this is a really good one. How do I know the pronouns of someone I've just met? Is it okay to just assume based on physical appearance, or should I ask first? It is probably most considerate to just ask somebody, what pronouns would you like me to use for you? Now, I'm not gonna lie, that can get you a pretty hateful reaction from some people if you ask them their pronouns. However, trans people don't generally have a choice about whether they receive that hate, so I think I can be comfortable accepting some of that as well. Excellent questions. Please keep asking them. Remember to keep it kind in the comments, and I will be back tomorrow with more Pride education.